This is Glambition Radio, episode number 302, The Power of Subtraction.
Ladies and gentlemen.
Glambition Radio.
Glambition Radio.
Glambition Radio.
Glambition Radio.
Glambition Radio.
Glambition Radio.
Welcome to Glambition Radio. I am your host, Allie Brown. I'm an entrepreneur, mentor, investor, and founder of The Trust, the modern premier network for 7- and 8-figure women leaders. I love thinking big, doing different, and exploring ideas that disrupt the status quo, especially when it comes to women, because we are creating the new models for leadership, business success, making money, and changing the world. And hey, we're doing it with style. So let's go. Hi there. I am still kind of settling back in from my event the week before last, Iconic the Revolution here in Phoenix. We had dozens of incredible women leaders in the room. What a variety of industries, of cultures, ages, shapes, sizes, colors. I mean, this amazing group, which you could see at our group photo we posted on my Instagram account, Allie Brown Official. And best of all, though, I did this one a little bit differently. You know, every event, if you've done events before, and especially ones that you repeat annually, and, you know, it may not be the exact same thing, but it's the same theme. It's essentially the same core type of event. And then you put a different theme on it, maybe you mix up the content a bit. And I kind of inadvertently did something that people noticed and put words to. And I love this when my clients are actually the ones to come back to me and give me the language for not only how I do things differently, but really the core of what I do. And I want to share that with you today because it's a really important concept I want you to get, and it's going to become an even more important part of how we do business going into this new world. So I want to share what I experienced, what I witnessed, and what I wanted to share also is what I heard from some of the attendees. So, you know, of course, I got wonderful notes and texts with comments like, I'm going to read you a few of these. Just wanted to thank you for an amazing 2 days. I absolutely loved it. Iconic was one of the most important events in my career. All the conversations and shares were exactly what I needed. You never disappoint. And as always, you're so generous with your energy. You lead with so much care and concern. I mean, these bring me to tears. They're just amazing. And there were also a few unexpected ones that really shone a light on the differences of this type of event compared to others. And I'm going to share those with you now. I'm going to read a few of these. Thank you for actually leaving space to face the things that were uncomfortable. It's what you do so well in terms of creating space inside which we can be uncomfortable and transform. One of my dear former clients, Eleanor Beaton from Canada, hit the nail on the head. She described how I run my events as the absence of interference. She said, you know what? You're really about subtraction. Oh, and I loved this. It's more about subtraction than addition, the study of absence, right? And she shared there's research showing that when we want to improve or grow, we nearly always assume it's something we need to add on. It's something else we need to do. It's an extra thing that we don't know about. There is such an incredible bias to add. And I'm going the other direction. And I'm going to share with you there is evidence that this is what we need to do. In my 20 plus years of experience in coaching women entrepreneurs, and especially those at the higher levels, I find more often than not, their next level involves subtraction. It hinges on subtraction, on taking something away. And that is what gets the springboard set for the next leap. How does this work? I'm going to explain. But first, I want to share, you know, what's interesting about this concept and what my members and attendees experienced in the room was how I approached the content myself for this event. In hindsight now, I noticed as I was going through the content for this year, I took out everything we did last year and I'm going through it. And, you know, typically I'm like, okay, what do I add in? What do I add in? Give them more stuff, right? Give them more information. And coming from the place sometimes of also ego and preparation, going, what will they like? What's new? What's going to get them talking? And I stopped. And instead, I took some content out, especially if I felt it was information just to placate them, or if I felt like I was giving them stuff to give them stuff, like, worksheets, for example, or anything in the past that the old me would have used. I just took it out and did not feel the pressure to insert something in its place. No lateral substitutions. And this created space. And as I walked into that event, I had sessions ready. I had my bag of tricks. I had them all, kind of lined up in a general flow. But I didn't have a detailed agenda. I operated from a whole new place. I entered the room feeling into it. I was prepared, but very open. I was listening to what was on their minds, what was on their hearts. As we went along, I saw where we could and should go next. And if you've led business events or you've been to them, you've probably noticed this is highly unusual. And please, don't try this at home unless you're ready, because listen, this is not for the faint of heart. Going in there with that type of clarity that you will know what to do in the moment comes after just years and years of doing these and paring away. Maybe there's some people that are naturally good at this, but I know years ago, my gosh, I'd walk in with 100 PowerPoint slides and be scared I didn't have enough still. And don't throw this on your teams, by the way. I remember years ago at a small workshop I did, I remember deciding last minute to switch session 5 with session 4, and I went to tell my assistant at the time in the back, and she nearly had a conniption. It malfunctioned her brain. She was like, but I had the handouts ready for session 4, not 5. I'm like, I'm sorry, this is where we're going. Luckily, my team now knows to expect these things. They just have everything ready. But, years ago, especially if you remember some of my older events where it was more about information, I had giant binder workbooks. My content was more technical in nature then. It was a lot of how-to. But I remember inside, that boosted my confidence because I'm like, okay, I'm going to prove I'm teaching them stuff. It's all in the binder. This cements the value for them. I also came from a world of being mentored and taught that you have to keep people busy every minute of the seminar or you lose control over them. I remember going to events where they would keep the attendees up till 9, 10 at night because when you got down to the bottom of it, I found out that they didn't want them out on their own. They felt like they would have conversations that shouldn't be had, or they would all decide to get together and leave, or they would talk about maybe how the value wasn't that great. And I'm thinking, this is kind of nuts. I felt like if I didn't fill every minute of that conference, then they wouldn't be happy. I was scared to leave any space. But today, it's so liberating. It's about transformation because when you get a certain level of attendees in the room, it's about the conversation. It's about the collective wisdom that we're pulling together. And it's about that third mind that is created when two brains get together. And all of us get together and are tapping into the ether and generating brand new ideas. So here's the next part. During any transformation, when you're entering a space of the unknown, there's going to be discomfort. And when there's dedicated time and space to do this, man, there's an uncomfortable tension in the room. And some of the attendees shared that with me. Like the end of day one, they're like, I just have this stuff now and it's kind of floating around. And they were kind of waiting for me to resolve it, fix it, coach me. And you could tell some of the coaches in the room were going crazy, like they want to start coaching. I'm like, no, stop. Everybody stop. Especially coaching a room of coaches can get crazy. Everyone wants to coach. Like everyone shut up. Let them process. Maybe they need to stew on this for a while. Maybe they need to sit with their problem. Maybe they need to take this up to their room with a glass of wine and kind of figure out. And I promised everyone, listen, let this just sit. Let it percolate. Tomorrow is the popcorning. And when things start popping, the ideas start forming and all that. But man, that tension, we as women, this is excruciating. We are dying to jump in and fix it. It's like when a friend's crying, you're running over with the tissues. It feels unsafe to us to have things looming and unresolved. It's in our DNA, right? If we aren't connected and sure and clear, it means we're unsafe. So our brains inside are screaming like, fix it, fix it. But I promise everyone, by the time that event was over, at least shortly after, I'm like, you're going to get what you need. You may not know what it is, but you're going to get what you need here. So this concept of subtraction, though, I was talking about my event just now here, right? And how I took things out. And that actually created something new. I want to invite you, how can you take this concept now and apply it to your business, to your life, to maybe the processes you do with clients, especially for those of you who are looking to make a big shift at the present time. But let's talk about just subtraction in general. I know for some clients, I have to give them the directive to unhook yourself from who you were. When they walk in my door and they have some type of vision or big goal, if they come in for a VIP day with me, for example, right? So it's a significant investment. It's 20 grand. We have a pre-call to set the agenda. I know what their critical issues are. I've pulled out of them at least their, basic goals, what their next level they're thinking, what they want it to look like. We may not know the big vision yet. They come in, and often I start feeling this push-pull. There's the new them and the old them. I referenced this a bit on my last solo I did on the big renovation one. What did I call it? The rebuild, the revound, demo day. I can't remember the name of the show right now. It's like two ones back. When you're blowing up the house, right? You're doing the reno, and you know that new place is coming, but you're kind of stuck in the rubble. You're stuck in the old. I see too many women kind of stay in that place, though, in their mind and in their business. And you've got to focus on that higher level. And this may sound counterintuitive, but the way to do this, if you're stuck, the first thing you need to do is take something out. Close out something that doesn't suit you. Close out the mediocre. Great example with clients, Alan Weiss, who is big in the consulting world. You've heard me mention him before. I remember reading years ago in his book, $1 Million Consulting, which I was mentioned in one of the recent versions. But years ago, I read the first version. I remember reading this on the train in New York, I'm pretty sure. And he mentioned every year you should drop off your bottom 15% of your clientele. I'd never heard anyone talk that way. Everyone was always about get more business, keep more business, get them, keep, and design something for them, try to keep everyone. And he's like, let that bottom 15% go. You need to make room for the bigger clients, make room for the bigger deals, make room for the new. I remember that always stayed with me. Colleagues, are you around those always adding on and not thinking differently and making space and generating a new vision for themselves? If you're around and plugged into one of those communities that is all about the how-to and all about the process, I've had clients like this. It will suck you back in. It is the worst case of FOMO of your life. You feel like if you are not on that next Zoom call, you're going to miss out on the latest and greatest strategy. And it's highly addictive, very hard to unplug. Programs you're a part of like that, events you've always gone to like that, and you're going to go through that FOMO, right? Fear of missing out, that phase where it feels weird. Like, why am I not at that event? Why am I not at these programs? Why am I not with these people? Maybe you need to be alone for a while. Maybe you need to not go to anything for a while. Maybe you need to go sit in a mountain. Think about also letting go of products or programs that you sell. Years ago, I remember I was trying to just simplify. I was trying to move away from the lower end products and stuff. And I decided to have this huge blowout sale. My team at the time did not understand it, but we used the 80-20 rule. I'm like, listen, give me a report. Tell me and give me all the sales of all these products we have on our site, because it's a mess right now. And I found out we were making like 80% of our income from 20% of these products. So the other 80%, I said, we're going to have a blowout sale, 50%. And even though most of them were digital, it didn't cost us to keep them. It was energy. It was energy I wanted gone. So we made a ton of money, got rid of them, cleaned up the website. And then my team felt very focused on those few items that made us the most money. We could do better marketing. We could do better service. We could do program improvements for those products. It all lined up. Start with something like that, even if it's one offer, one product, one program, one client. I was making this list, and I also thought of something else I did at that time to let something go. Probably just a few years ago, when I was trying to move out of the old me, I looked around my office and I had awards on the wall, my Inc. 500 award, online marketing type awards, things like that. And I remember standing up and going over to look at them, and I took one down, I put it in a drawer. I took the other one down, I put it in the drawer. I took them all down, put them in a drawer, and then I put up a beautiful piece of art that was inspiring to me. It's not that I didn't honor those awards and really recognize what they meant to me, but I decided that that wasn't representative of where I wanted to go next. So for me, that was very important. So start with a bit of this cleaning out the closet, right? This is how I approach my days with my clients. Because when they're caught between these two worlds, if I'm feeling like we're kind of stuck, I'll say, okay, forget this new vision right now. Let's clean up some of this junk. Let's start crossing out some of the stuff that you can let go of. Let's take a flashlight here and clean out the closet. When you do this, especially if it's a major move and you're in this transition, which is going to be uncomfortable and there's tension, right? It's not just you. There's tension in the universe. There's tension in the energetic world because this now creates a vacuum that pulls you forward instead of pushing. As Aristotle wrote, nature abhors a vacuum. Nature hates a vacuum. It'll fill it in. If you make space, it will be filled in. With what though? That's why it's important to set your intentions, hold a vision, otherwise it'll be filled back in with the old stuff. How much better would it feel to be pulled forward rather than having to push? Everyone teaches pushing. They sell the push. They sell the add. They don't sell the subtract. And I'm telling you, ladies, the days of the pushing and the hustling are coming to a close. It's not sustainable, and especially for women. A few more ways I've created a vacuum of space for magic to happen personally and more gracefully is things that I've added into my life, okay? But actually there's subtraction at the same time because they're about space. Being out in nature more. I'm very blessed to be within 10 minutes of some of the most incredible hiking in Arizona. And, sometimes a few months go by and I'm like, oh my gosh, I cannot believe I haven't done this. To start your morning walking out in nature, in desert, with no cell reception and a beautiful walk changes your day. It changes how you think. It changes how you receive. So adding this into your week is going to be more influential than you realize. Personal retreats, if I have a client that's stuck or myself, or I'm simply recovering from an event like I am now, I'll go take a break. I will check in to a nice resort that's actually not too close to home. I've realized because now with kids, there's just a feeling of being too close to home. I like to get it probably about 2 hours away if I can. And I'll go check in. And I'm staying this week, for example, at a beautiful 5-star resort with hiking right out the door. The first 2 days, honestly, I have nothing planned. I let myself sleep when I'm tired. That could be during the day. I eat when I'm hungry. I'll hike when I want to be outside. I just get back into my body and get back into that operating from how I'm feeling. That is when things start opening up for me. That is when the ideas, the concepts, the new direction, the new realization will appear. I'm a big fan of the afternoon cat nap. Doesn't happen every day, but whenever I can, man, that totally resets me for the whole afternoon. And I work really well with naps. In my schedule, I sat down and talked with my assistant, I remember last year, and I just said, listen, we need to redo my calendar. We're going to have some new calendar rules. No calls on Mondays. I already had no calls on Fridays. I need space between my calls. I don't want to feel rushed. Batch when we can, but give some more space, that white space in the schedule. Because I also want to enjoy this. I want to have more ease. I want to allow for magic. Like a year ago, I decided I would do this podcast every 2 weeks and not every week. Should I do it every week? Probably. It would help the algorithm. It would help our download numbers. It would help the rankings. What do I want it? What's the best schedule for me? Every 2 weeks. And that's why you've probably seen some better shows lately and a lot more solos. And I'm enjoying it so much more. Having that white space in between for me is critical, especially when you're in a creative space. I remember one of my last jobs at that little ad agency, right before I quit and started my own business, there was a designer there and I learned a lot from him. His name was Eric and we talked about design because I'd have to jump in and help sometimes and learn Quark, if you remember that. I think that's what became eventually InDesign. And I was trying to jam stuff in. He said, no, you need the white space. It not only makes it more beautiful because you can appreciate the art and design within it with the space around it, but it's effective. Things are more readable. They're more digestible. And I thought, what a great analogy that having that white space allows us to take in what we have more deeply, more clearly, and create from that place. The hardest thing from here, even if you take these steps, is to create that vision and have someone help hold you to that vision. And I want to share a special message I just received from a client who did a VIP day with me this past year. I'm relieved I now have someone to talk to at this level because really I have no one else who will get it, who really gets me. You saw something for me that I couldn't see. And I know now I want to work with you ongoing because if I'm not in a container where I'm continually now held to this vision, I'm going to lose this. And this is too precious to lose. It's about having somebody who can say, here's something larger, and now I'm going to help you get there and hold this belief that this is a reality for you. So how about you? I know you may have been listening to the show for a while. You may have been curious what it's like to work with me personally, and I'd like to make an invitation. If you'd like my assistance in doing this, there are a few opportunities to work with me going into 2023. I do want to note, I specialize in supporting women leaders whose businesses are generating or on track to reach 7 or 8-figure revenues per year. But lower revenues can occasionally be a good fit. If you've been in this for a while, you have evidence of a strong platform, you have growth potential, I'd be happy to talk with you to see if it's a fit. We'll get your basic info and you can make an appointment to talk with my team. Number 1, I do these VIP strategy days, and I have a few spots remaining here in Phoenix for this winter and into spring. Clients have used these days to map out all kinds of goals, visions. It's completely customized. How to scale their current model without implosion, how to position themselves for higher end fees and clients, planning their next level of growth, driving a creative sharp right turn, birthing a whole new brand that matches where they're really feeling called right now. I have one new client who just sold her company and is so excited about what the next level is she's about to create. So we'll set an agenda based on your needs. We'll have a private pre-call before we meet and a follow-up call included as well. So even if you're just curious, I encourage you to talk with my team, okay? Go to allybrown.com/advisory and you'll learn more there. And then there's just a brief form. And we'll put the link below in the show notes for you. If you'd like ongoing support for the entire upcoming year with several VIP days included, I also offer something called being a premier client. This is highly recommended if you feel this is going to be a transformative year for you and you want that support, like that client testimonial I mentioned before, like helping you birth and hold that vision through the entire year, because you will get sucked back down. You will get sucked back down into the day-to-day, and that vision's going to end up in a drawer. So my clients tell me it's amazing to have me on the calendar where I'm pulling them back up, and we don't let it go. We deal with what's going on now. We handle critical issues right now. I talk them off the ledge about all kinds of stuff, right? They tell me, they're like, oh, thanks, I'm having this team issue, and or I'm worried I'm going to get divorced. This stuff's going crazy. And that's always part of the conversation. We get so close. But I'm holding them back up to that higher level vision. One client described me as a doula who really helped her through this transition out of the ordinary and into the extraordinary. Right now, I have room only for 1 to 2 more premier clients. You can learn more at the same page I gave you, allybrown.com/advisory. And of course, for those of you over the $1 million mark, you'd be remiss not to join the Trust. This is my private premier network for women entrepreneurs with businesses in the 7 and 8-figure range. This is a network. It's not a coaching program, but these women are extraordinary. We come together in these rooms, and the wisdom and collective sharing in that room is just incredible. We're nearly at 50 members now, and it's just such a powerful group. I'm telling you, learn more and apply to join us at jointhetrust.org. So I'll put these links in the show notes for you. Please reach out, even if you're curious. Maybe that is an action you need to take just to create some type of ripple effect for you. And remember, what can you subtract at this time to make room for something beautifully new? Thank you for joining me for this episode of Glambition Radio. If you enjoyed the show, make sure you subscribe so you automatically get my new shows every week. Also, I'd love if you left us a review so more women like you can discover us. We're on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, Pandora, and other major platforms. And I'd love to hear from you personally. Come join the conversation on social. Instagram is my happy place lately, and that's Allie Brown Official, but you can find links to my other platforms at alliebrown.com. Glambition Radio is the elevated conversation for women leaders, and I'm honored you tuned in.